Hi everyone, and welcome to this demonstration video. I will be showing you configuration for file resources for software development using role-based access control and principle of least privileges. Here on server 1, I have created an organizational unit called software development with another organizational unit for its users in Active Directory. I have created 4 software developers, 2 system integrators, a system architect, and a database analyst. As well, I have role groups to represent each of the job functions: software development, system integrator, system architecture, and database analysis. Also, I have a software development director, who is the manager for all activities in software development, plus a user, and a role group for me. These users will be working on at least one software project. Therefore, I created an extra role group for each the Android app and the iOS app. In the iOS app group, its members are the newly created database administrator, the system architect, along with system integrator 1 and software developers 1 and 2. In the Android app group, it again contains the database administrator and the system architectures as its group members. Unlike the iOS app, this one has System Integrator 2 and Software Developers 3 and 4 as its own members. Specifically, looking at the memberships for Database Administrator, it is a member of both the Android app and the iOS app. This shows that a user can be a membership to one or more groups. After creating the organizational unit for software development, I designed a folder structure to store files relating to the software development projects. This is designed on the new K-volume that I added to the server. When I go into File and Storage Services under Server Manager, here under Shares, I have made 3 shares for each of the base folders of my folder structure. They can be accessed across the network. Looking at the properties, for example, the NL software development projects, and I click the sharing tab, and I go into advanced sharing, and go into permissions. It is shared with the Android app and the iOS app role groups, and can only read, but make no changes to it. On the left side is the folder structure. There are 2 folders each for the iOS and Android projects. In each folder, there is a brainstorming subfolder, along with other subfolders that are belonging to each members of the project for certain role groups. Now, with this folder structure I have created, I have set different security permissions to have these folders secured. Absolutely, there's no access to these folders except for the users working on the project. These users can use these folders to store their work. For example, I'm in the parent folder, and then I right-click Android app, Properties, Security, Advanced. Notice that I have changed the permission to only the users for the Android app group to have access, applying to this folder only. When I go into effective access, I can view effective permissions for users and groups. For example, I will select user, and then I'll type software developer 4, view effective access. Notice that software developer 4 can only execute files, read data, read attributes, read extended attributes, and read permissions. But what about a member of the iOS group? In that case, I will select the user, and then software developer 2. Now, software developer 2 cannot access this folder at all because since he's part of the iOS project group, the iOS project group has absolutely no access to this folder at all. If I were to do this for the iOS folder, it's still the same permissions, except restricted only to the users in the iOS group. In this case, these permissions for effective access would apply to Software Developer 4 since Software Developer 4 is a part of the Android group. And read and execute permissions would be applied to Software Developer 1 and Software Developer 2 since those ones are part of the iOS group. Going into one of these folders, for example, Android app, I have set restricted access permissions to each of these folders, depending on the role group. The brainstorming folder is the only one that all of the role groups for that project can access. When I right-click on this folder, and then go into Properties, Security, Advanced, there are actually two permissions for the Android app group. This one is for read, write, execute files in this folder only, and this one is for managing and deleting files and subfolders within this folder. In effective access, and then select the user, software developer 4, to effective access. This user can not only read and execute files, but can also write files and delete them as well. The other folders within this folder has the same permissions, but only applying to their specific role users. So that's a wrap for this video, and I'll see you next time.